Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So yesterday I watched Surviving R. Kelly. It's a documentary series about R. Kelly's abuse of black girls and women. And what I want to do is provide a summary of what I've seen so far, and then just provide my basic commentary about this whole situation. For those of you who don't know, a while ago I did a video about R. Kelly involving these allegations of him holding black women as sex slaves. I also have done earlier videos as well about R. Kelly. I will post those in the cards so that you all can see them for yourself. But I think that a statement from this documentary sums up the community's reaction to this whole situation. One of the women in the documentary said nobody cared because we were black girls. And I think that that's the truth. You have people defending this scumbag, people defending this serial child rapist, making all kinds of excuses for this man. And I think that it just shows how little we respect black girls and black women, not only in the larger society, but in the black community itself. You have black women defending R. Kelly. I've seen videos on YouTube where you have black women actually defending this sexual predator. And you have so-called conscious people actually defending this man. Just like you had conscious people defending Bill Cosby, the rapist. But let me provide some basic information, and I'm not going to go into it in very much detail about R. Kelly's documentary. Instead, I encourage you all to watch it on Lifetime. But, the first thing that they start off with is the fact that he married singer Aaliyah when she was only 15 years old. He married her, and then they forged or falsified the marriage records to indicate that Aaliyah was 18 and he was 27. They falsified those records in order to make the marriage happen. So you have a 15-year-old girl in a relationship with a grown-ass man, somebody that's 27 years old or older. There's no way that you can explain that away. There's no way that you could rationalize that or justify that type of arrangement in modern times. There's no excuse for that. And I'm going to get into it a little bit later, but there was a man in this documentary that talked about how he helped create these forged records, these false records, in order to, make this marriage happen. You had a man on this program who was talking about how he was there at the wedding. Why didn't this man do anything to prevent this from happening? Why did that man help them falsify those records? Also, this documentary talked about how this guy R. Kelly would hang out at high schools to try to pick up teenage girls. On a regular basis, he would go to high schools and to malls trying to pick up teenage girls. And then one of the most troubling situations that I saw in the documentary was the situation involving singer Sparkle's 14-year-old niece. Sparkle introduced her 14-year-old niece to R. Kelly. And this man ended up having a relationship with this 14-year-old girl. She was the one featured in that infamous sex tape where he's urinating in her face. And this 14-year-old does not look like some adult at all. I mean, if you see this documentary, this 14-year-old girl looks like just that, a little girl. And this guy engaged in all kinds of sex acts with this girl. Forced her to engage in all kinds of degrading and humiliating things. But yet and still, you have these losers defending this guy. You have these irrational, misogynistic men defending this conduct. You know, they talked about the trial. You know, they talked about how, you know, these videotapes were presented to the local media, and then the local media turned those tapes over to the authorities, and then they arrested R. Kelly. And this 14-year-old girl refused to testify in the case, from what I understand. And that's part of the reason why this man literally got away with raping a 14-year-old black girl on camera. It's just despicable, man. I think that more likely than not, R. Kelly's people threatened her family. You know, they may have gave her hush money to silence her. And, you know, one of the people in this particular documentary talked about how they participated in menage a trois with this 14-year-old girl. And they claim that they didn't know she was 14. But if you just look at the photographs, even though they blur out her image, it's no way that you could think that this girl was of age. There's no way that you would think that she's 21 or that she's even 18 years old. There's no way that somebody could get that messed up. So, you know, this girl was participating in these sex acts and all that kind of stuff. You know, it's just despicable, man. And then the person that participated in those sex acts with this girl, you know, in these menage a trois, also talked about how there were threats against her. Like, she feared for her safety. You know, at one point she breaks down and starts crying because she hears that there were people that wanted to have her killed, because she's the one that took the tape and, you know, gave it to somebody else. And then after they took the tape, it ended up in the hands of the media, and it ended up in the hands of the police. So because of that, there were threats against that woman's life. And, you know, that, well, she's a woman now, but at the time, she was only like 17 years old. So you have a situation where this type of stuff happens. And then not only is that girl just, you know, abused like by the mere sexual acts, but this thing is widely publicized. Like, these videotapes are copied and distributed all over the nation, and people are watching this stuff. So this girl is being just humiliated beyond our imagination, man. So it's just outrageous, man. And then they talked about the abuse, like talked about how he controlled these young women, you know, told them when they could eat, you know, when they could talk, who they could talk with to, you know, all this type of abusive type of behavior. And there is a reason why R. Kelly targeted these young girls, because he knew that he could control them. He knew that they were easily influenced, easily manipulated. He knew that they were vulnerable to manipulation. You know, he knows that he's some larger than life type of figure, you know, because he's famous. You know, he sold all these records. You know, his face is everywhere. He does all these major concerts and all that kind of stuff. So these people looked up to him. You know, he promised some of these people a shot at fame and stuff like that. He used that to manipulate them. And the thing that's very troubling about this whole situation is that there are so many people that enabled this abuse, allowed it to continue. Again, going back to that whole point about nobody cared because we were black girls. And all that is evident based on how many people enabled this man. Whether we're talking about staff members that knew that these were underage girls, that gave these underage girls R. Kelly's numbers, you know, telephone numbers, and, you know, made arrangements for him to be with these women and protected him in these types of arrangements. And then you have parents that are enablers, that entrusted their young children with this man. You know, their young daughters with this man, knowing his history. Some of these people knew about this this case, these criminal charges that were brought about against him years ago. They knew about him marrying Aaliyah at 15 years old, but yet and still they sent their daughters to be with this man. They entrusted their daughters with this man because they were money hungry and they were hungry for fame and fortune. So they didn't care about their daughters being with this man, you know, entrusting this sexual predator to be with their children. Again, nobody cared because they were black girls. And then you have the fans. They come up with all kinds of excuses for this man's behavior. I'm sure that when people watch this video, you will have these misogynists on here defending this stuff, protecting this man, saying that, you know, the girls are to blame. You know, saying that they are fast and all that kind of stuff. Say that they knew what they were getting into. There is a reason why the law has set up statutory rape, you know, systems, or, you know, statutory rape laws. Because at certain ages, people are not capable of legally consenting to sex acts. But that doesn't matter to these irrational fans. These fans are more concerned with music than they are concerned with the lives of black girls and black women. And I think that that's despicable. I think that it's despicable that you have black people in our community still defending this man. You have black churches that allow this man to sing in their churches. Even while these charges were in court, you had black churches opening their doors to this man. You had youth events involving this man at the time when he was being charged with these crimes. And it's outrageous, man. And then he had a circle of friends protecting him, family members protecting him. One of the family members actually was interviewed from jail. And this family member was talking about how it was just a preference. You know, he just has a preference for younger women. Pedophilia is not a preference. It's a sickness. It's despicable. It's disgusting. You know, and it's a damn shame that you got people defending this stuff, saying that it's just a preference. The other thing that I have to talk about is the fact that you had all these celebrities who refused to appear in this documentary. The only one that appeared in this documentary, you know, A-list celebrity that appeared, was John Legend. He was the only one that had the balls to appear on that documentary. You had all these black people, these black celebrities and other celebrities that have worked with R. Kelly, but they didn't have the courage to get on there and say something about this whole situation. They didn't have the courage. You got Jay-Z, for instance. And Jay-Z does great things that I respect. You know, on my other channel, I talk about the great things that he has done. But this man had an album with R. Kelly called The Best of Both Worlds. He worked with this man. He toured with this man. And you mean to tell me he has nothing to say about this stuff? Nothing to say about the abuse of young black girls and black women? Nothing to say about this sex slave scandal where he's holding young women against their will and basically reducing them to sexual slaves and sex objects and abusing them? He has nothing to say about that. But we shouldn't be surprised, because this is, after all, a man who sung about big pimping. This is a man, after all, who talked about money, cash, hoes. This is a man, after all, who had no respect for black women until he had a change of heart once he got married and had some daughters. All of a sudden, his views have somewhat changed. He's moderated his music and all that kind of stuff. But this man should have said something. He should have been in that documentary to condemn this man, R. Kelly, to speak out against this man. These people enable R. Kelly by continuing to work with him, by not speaking out against him. These music companies are more concerned about profits than they are concerned about black women and girls. They continue to sign him, promote his music, sell his music. They keep him on their labels. And then you have these radio stations, black radio stations playing this man's music, despite all this scandal around him, despite, him peeing in the mouth of a 14-year-old girl and videotaping it. Despite him engaging in all these despicable acts against teenage girls, you have radio stations that play his music. You have churches that still play I Believe I Can Fly, still support this man. And I think that that's a damn shame. And it speaks again to what this sister said. Nobody cared because we were black girls. So tell me what y'all think about this series, Surviving R. Kelly. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Peace.